Hi, Diann.
Hi.
Welcome to Where 2012. I understand you've been to all the Wheres.
I have.
And have you noticed a difference or a change or a morph over the years?
Significant changes. The interesting part is that it's not all been in one direction. I feel like location has, in the first year, it was really much more about maps, and particularly the Google Maps API being open. I remember seeing Jack Dangermond and John Hankey up on stage together. And that was when I was first putting ideas around map-based businesses, social mapping together, and it was incredibly inspiring. Everything was new. And then it morphed into lots of startups the next year, which was exciting, exhilarating. And then the next year there were more VCs than startups, and the business people started coming, so it became more commercial and more about revenue generating, which as an industry I think we were all evolving in that path. And then it kind of lost itself for a while. And I don't mean specifically the Where conference, but I think location in general, people didn't know what to do with it for a little while. A lot of those early companies weren't necessarily making money. Location wasn't something that was embedded right before the iPhone came out or right after the iPhone came out. And then with the resurgence of smartphones, location had this resurgence, and I think that a lot of us found that home for it here. So I think much, much more it's about the analytics. First, it was about collecting the data. Now, what can we actually do? What decisions can we make? How can we impact our lives? How can we change the decisions we make on a daily basis by knowing location information in some way? And that's, I think, where we are today.
And where do you think we're going to be going in the future? I mean, one of the things to me is privacy and too much location almost, or dislocation. So do you see anything happening in the future where we're going?
I think that we're not yet at a point where we're doing a good enough job at the user benefit, at the change to our lives, for example.
Yeah.
And where we'll see that is, I think, one is in the connected car. Location and connectivity within the car is something that's already beginning to happen. We'll be in our first vehicle in July. And by next year, many, many vehicles will be connected.
When you say we...
I mean Waze.
Okay, you're with Waze now.
I'm with Waze now. I run a lot of what's happening outside of Israel, the partnerships with the broadcasters, the advertisers, the automotive guys, and all the partnership stuff. But the other place I think it will be seen is in cities. So Waze is doing navigation and traffic all crowdsourced on smartphones. And so the idea with that is that traffic is one of the first ways that you can take this large amounts of big data in the cloud and be able to make real-time decisions. So for example, get me out of traffic, save me time. But as cities become more networked, and as we start really getting to participatory cities and sensors within the cities, I think a lot of the communication back and forth will be invisible. And we'll be able to guide ourselves based on where people are and where people aren't. Definitely in terms of emergency response, being able to steer people away from entire areas, as city APIs can communicate with smartphone applications, can communicate with the buildings themselves. I think that there's going to be a big invisible layer of that communication that's very, very exciting in the embedded sensor networks. Related to location.
And integrated with our lives.
Integrated with our lives. And really, decisions about how to save money, decisions about what time to leave for work, decisions about where to live, decisions about what time to leave for school, decisions about whether or not you should go to work today. Sometimes an option might be so bad in a certain city somewhere in the world where you would waste 5 hours of your workday, either stuck in traffic or if there's something happening, right, and you didn't know about it, it could be dangerous. So. We're going to have access to a lot more of that information, a lot of it invisible.
So what is the premise behind Waze? I'm kind of curious, what is the vision of what you are now and where you're going in the future?
The vision right now is, what route do I take now? It's all real time. It's about saving you time every single day. It's primarily for commuters. So navigation used to be, if I don't want to get lost, I'm going to use a navigation device. This is much more the real time component. So I can take 101 or I can take 280. Which one's going to be faster right now? And that'll be different 10 minutes from now or 20 minutes from now. And it's all crowdsourced, so you can see the other Wazers nearby. We're now just past 15 million drivers, so we're getting a tremendous amount of information, and then we can tell the speed of everyone that has the application open. And then we look at, is that slower or faster than what we have as an average historic speed? And then we can paint the traffic based on that. Plus, there are the components of the manual reporting on accidents, traffic hazards, that kind of thing. And that's what a lot of the broadcasters are using.
So one thing that drives me nuts with all applications on phones is their battery hogs. Are you guys doing something special or different to help alleviate the battery drain?
On the application side, there's not a ton we can do. We can optimize, but we're talking about GPS and connectivity. Both are battery hogs, and so it's going to have to be more on the device. Luckily, the bulk of our drivers are commuters, and so they use these applications. They plug it in. You just, you know, if you want to use this, it's still cheaper than having to pay for your connected service in the car, plus your device,
So this all sounds interesting. It also reminds me of kind of IBM's Smarter Planet, Smarter Cities. I think we're all moving towards smarter cities, and apps and location helps us get there. Where would you like to see Waze going in the future?
I think that I already know where we're going in the future, at least in the short-term future. And I think that there's a lot we can do with overall driving efficiency. That might be saving on fuel. It might be helping you save money on gas. When we can really nail, I mean, for us, it's all about the entire community. The community is at the core of everything we do. We own the map. It's ours. We don't use anybody else's. The routing engine, the traffic, the community, it's all of ours, right? And so building up that stack is really critical. But we're only going to keep adding layers to that stack that are of the utmost importance to our drivers. So we'll tackle things like that. Global expansion is a very, very big deal to us. We learn a lot, you know, from looking at the difference between Beijing and London and Tel Aviv and San Francisco. And so we're starting to understand that data a little bit better. We're making big moves into China this year and Japan. We're already very popular in several Western European countries and in Latin America and the U.S., obviously.
Boy, some of the developing markets like Beijing, you know, not really a developing market, but boy, their traffic has changed dramatically in the last 3 years.
Yeah, there are a few use cases where you must crowdsource traffic information. One is in the developing cities where a road that was here, you know, yesterday isn't here today, and 10 roads that weren't here are now here. And now you can take a right, but you couldn't yesterday. The whole infrastructure is changing so fast that you really need to be able to crowdsource to keep up. So I think that crowdsourcing plays a role there. Also, in the U.S., I don't know if you remember that there's something called Carmageddon in Los Angeles in July. It was a 10-mile stretch of the 405. So with all of our great technology we have here, and all of the investments in infrastructure, we have, you know, sensors in the roads, we have fusion engines from the Departments of Transportation. All you can really rely on is what's happening on the highways. And when you have major sections of the highways that need to be repaired, that's just dozens of alternate routes that you can only track through crowdsourcing. So crowdsourcing in general, now that we're at this scale, this big data scale at 15 million drivers or passive collection of information through smartphones, I think we can really, you can really make decisions on that. It becomes very reliable.
Yeah, I see the vector in all that we're discussing is big data, mobile, and geo. Those three seem to fit together really well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Diann, thank you for your time. This has been great, and we hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.